Gehed mir herfolge. Welcome everyone, my name is Darren Kuzma and this is Mind the Crack. Series of webinars that we're doing on life improvement tools or life hacks if you like. The short series that I'm doing at the moment is on the subject of study and learning. So I hope you've tuned in and you've joined me for a few of the others, or even just watched the videos which are online, YouTube, Facebook, a number of different locations. So if you followed them or you're with me today, I'd like to say hello and just check in with you. I'm here live on a Zoom chat. So if you're here, you can see at the top or at the bottom of your screen, you can see icons for chats and reactions. And I just put in a little message there. Hi everyone, welcome to Mind the Crack. So you can go ahead and share with me. Because we're doing this as a webinar rather than just a video, we're inviting participation because I like to hear from you. I like to understand or know that you're actually getting the information that I'm giving you, or if you have any questions as we go along, because the focus of course is on retention and learning, and that does get improved with participation. Okay, so today's subject, what makes you lose concentration? Well, I'm not talking about pouring water into your apple juice or the type of concentration that you have when you're trying not to spill a drop of your overfull teacup, but I might relate to some things in life like that a little bit later. What we're actually talking about is study, directed and purposeful learning from some sort of material or some sort of experience, wherever it may be. Now, this information that I'm drawing from comes from the study technology of L. Ron Hubbard, and what I've chosen to do is pick some particular points out of that huge body of knowledge and highlight some of those points that I feel are very important for you to understand, and then perhaps give examples and interact a little bit with you so I can make sure that you get everything, and then perhaps be interested in moving on and finding out about that full body of knowledge. Okay, so I don't just have myself here live on the chat. Across the other platforms, whether it be Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, I also have someone assisting me today. Her name is Michelle. So if you're watching along and you want to give thumbs up or ask questions or get in touch with us, any of those platforms, just put them in the comments section there, type something in, and either Michelle will pass on your question to me through Zoom if there's something that's appropriate that she wants to let me know, or otherwise she can just converse with you online like that yourself. Okay, so what do I have to do with the subject of study and learning? Well, myself, aside from your regular kindergarten, primary school, high school, I also went to university for 5 years, completed a double degree, and did hundreds upon hundreds of hours of postgraduate study for professional certification and further qualifications. In addition to that, extensive learning online and my own self-directed courses, Google courses online, and then basically a prolific learner is how I would describe myself, or as an ambitious student trying to learn as much as I can. So I have a lot of experience, and I have a lot of experience not just with the study technology of L. Ron Hubbard, but I have a huge amount of experience having completed my university degree prior to learning about study technology. So I've seen it from both sides of the coin, how you can do it the hard way, or how it is extremely difficult, and then doing it the easy way, and when you have all the proper tools, how that can make it easier for you. Okay, so we're gonna glance over to Zoom, make sure that there's everything. Michelle, just give me a bit of a indication how many people are watching on the other platforms. It's always great to hear. Okay, so I'm going to start with the definition of concentration, since we are talking about losing concentration. So from the Oxford Dictionary, and you can find this online, it says the action or power of focusing all one's attention. I'll give that to you again. The action or power of focusing all one's attention. Now, attention, let's take that a little bit further. Attention, from the Oxford Dictionary once again, notice taken of someone or something, and the regarding of someone or something as interesting or important. Okay, I'm going to go another step. We're going to look at the word interesting or interest, because it does come up in that definition of attention. Interest, from the Oxford Dictionary once again. The feeling of wanting to know or learn about something or someone. Okay, so we're going to go back and reverse through those steps, but just starting with that end point of interest, because it's quite simple there. A feeling of wanting to know or learn about someone or something. So there's a feeling that goes with it, perhaps a desire, you could say, or some sort of innate, driven sort of impulse towards wanting to know or learn about something or someone. Okay, so that's your interest, right? So then we go into attention, which used interest in its definition. So attention, notice taken. So there's some sort of directed a direction of your mind, of your senses towards something. Notice taken of someone or something. So there's direction of your mind and your senses. And the regarding, so the thinking of or the considering of someone or something as interesting or important. So you're holding in your mind this desire, this concept, or this thought, this consideration that you feel like, or you have that feeling that you want to know or learn about something. So your attention, going over that again, you're giving your minds, your senses directed towards something because you feel, you desire, you want to know or learn something about it. Okay, so then coming back to concentration, the action or power of focusing all one's attention. And that relates to the derivation of the word con and centration, con being with or to, and centra being the center. So you can see that your attention is coming into a center point or focusing on perhaps something that you are interested in, or you have some desire or a feeling that you need to know more about it, and using your senses in that direction. Now, L. Ron Hubbard actually added something else to that, which I think is very, very valid. And he gives a definition of attention by saying that attention is a quantity of awareness. Now, I'm going to give you a little drill about that very shortly. But therefore, it gives you the concept that perhaps there is a variable amount of awareness. There is an awareness that someone could have where they may be aware of only one thing, and there would be awareness or a quantity where a person could be aware of many different things. So your concentration, the action of fixing your attention on one particular thing, is you're using whatever quantity you have of awareness to bring it into some center point. Okay, so that's what we're looking at. We're looking at concentration, your ability, putting your senses, your desire, for whatever reason it is that you feel you need to, into something. So therefore, attention, you could say, has some survival aspect to it. As an example, very gross, I'm going to talk about something from my earlier years. When I had a Commodore 64, also played on Atari. There's a game called Pong. And in that game, it's simply two sliding paddles or two sliding, let's say, lines on the screen that hit a pixel that basically bounces around the screen from one to the other. Now, the amount of attention that you can put on one single dot is really quite fascinating, and for how long. So that's tied up with survival, because you want to do the best that you can. You want to beat your opponent or the computer, whichever it was. So there is this aspect of survival that goes with it. And so much so, in fact, that if you look at this quantity of attention, and you might notice a couple of things, and perhaps something like this might illustrate it. Now, if you weren't paying huge attention, maybe you didn't notice that I took a drink. Maybe you did. But what quantity of awareness that you had at that time, and what I decided to fix your attention on, or tried to fix your attention on, may have given you an example of losing concentration of something by fixing your attention on something else. So it goes to show, you got to watch out for the wolf stealing the chickens in the backyard while the wolf at the front is howling at the moon. Or even in another way, look out for the monkey stealing your bananas when there's a monkey around the front warning you of the threatening rhinoceros down below. Anyway, so in life, concentration can be fixed, or it can be made to be very dispersed. And that does relate to study itself. So I'm going to get to that. But first, let's just check in with Michelle and see what's happening here on Zoom. Good, so we have a few people watching. That's great. I hope you got that last example. If you did and you followed, or you were tricked, or your concentration or your attention went in one direction and not the other, let me know back. I'd like some feedback on how that went down. And if you have any examples of poor concentration in study and how you tried to handle it, or your experience with concentration. Maybe you know someone that has been given some sort of a label or something that has to do with concentration that maybe you feel was incorrect or was handled in a certain way. I'd like to hear from you because I'm going to give you some information that you can compare to your own experience and your own knowledge that might have you looking at it in a slightly different way. So go ahead and send those messages and comments in. It'd be great to hear from you. Okay, here we go. So, first an example from my life, which I'll then use to illustrate something a little bit later. I remember walking into my bathroom with a spatula and realizing as soon as I arrived there that I had forgotten what I was going to use the spatula for. Kind of out of place, kitchen utensil in the bathroom. My girlfriend at the time had said to me, "What are you going to do, make hash browns?" And that comment, quite funny as it was, really distracted me and I was completely confused. I did not know what it was that I was doing in the bathroom with a spatula. So what I did is I had gone to the kitchen and I had gotten a spatula and I had gotten it for some reason and I had evidently thought of using it in the bathroom. I'm not sure if that's ever happened to you, but losing concentration on what you're doing, I have a particular story, part of that story which I haven't given you just yet, but that will explain to you and help you understand a little bit about this whole mechanism of concentration. Okay, so here we are, we're going to continue on. So we went back to that definition before and I said that we're looking about interest or interest needing to be there. But before we get carried away with the idea of things being interesting, you may catch yourself at times initially being interested in something and then a short period afterwards not being interested in something. Now, it may be true that there are some things that you're just not interested in, like at an initial glance you're not even interested in it, and I'm not necessarily talking about that, but what I am talking about is something that you've been interested in, that you've been wanting to concentrate your efforts towards. There's some material you have been studying, listening to online or wherever it is. You've been interested, and then at some point in time you have become not interested. Well, that phenomena relates to not understanding something. So let me go back and give you the example here in real life that I did before with a spatula. So what happened is I was in the bathroom and I had been speaking to my girlfriend and she had asked me to get her a cotton swab. And in not knowing what a cotton swab was, I had got confused. I had become confused and I lost concentration. I went downstairs, and when I was downstairs, I got myself an implement that I didn't know what it was that I needed it for, or I had completely blanked out. So the mechanism of getting something given to you that you don't understand causes a period of blankness and you lose concentration. I'm not sure if you've ever experienced that, but certainly the resolution of that then relates to usually going back to where you did understand things, finding out the thing that you didn't understand, and getting it understood. So this phenomenon of blankness occurs in basically the same way in study. So you're reading some material and you might find that you've gone blank. So your attention is perhaps not any longer directly or fully on the material that you're studying. Perhaps it is on the words. And I know, like in reading drills that we used to have at school, I'd be reading a page, we'd have a whole class, and we get one page each, and the entire class we would go around, I would read a page, and then someone else would read a page, and then someone else would read a page. And I would often read the page, and I'd be very good at pronouncing each of the words, and making my commas and pauses and full stops and things like that, but I would get to the end of the page and not know anything of what I had read. So that's a partial loss of my attention on what it was that I was studying. I was able to read, but I wasn't taking it in. So we're looking at an attenuation that might have a varying level. But when you hit something that you don't understand, the phenomena is basically the same. Your concentration will be lost. Okay, so aside from having these points of misunderstanding, which I do go over in some of the other videos earlier on the different study webinars that we have done, looking at misunderstood words, as they call them, and the way that you would clear them up. There is also a drilling aspect to concentration. And if you consider how life is these days, and I know when I grew up, if you're at home and you were playing and you're at a friend's place, the only way to communicate with people in another location was through a phone that was on the wall. Now, if you were playing, you were there, you were present, you were doing what you were doing while you were doing it, and you weren't bothered by anything. But if you look at things nowadays, how many young people, or even not young people, but adults, have their phone with them? And it doesn't matter where they are, they don't just have the thing that they are doing while they are present in that moment, in that location. They have everything else happening on their phone being fed to them. So your attention is constantly getting distracted. Now, if you grow up in an environment like that where you're constantly being distracted by things, or in order to keep up with the different peer groups and the different things that are happening around you, that your attention goes to the phone or to many other things, one after the other, you can see how the ability to concentrate is trained out of someone. So, here's some suggestions. I know myself, I was quite a, let's say, attention deficit child. I had many interests, and I'd be into one thing and then into another thing and then over to something else. And one thing I recall is that I used to go hunting with the boys in the family. And one of the things that I noticed is the fixing of attention, walking through the bush with a gun, looking for anything in the bush that would be moving, especially on a still day. It was very memorable for me to see how clear and how still my mind was after time spent in the bush. So you would be doing nothing else except for creeping or walking through the bush looking for game that we were licensed to hunt. And you would be looking quite far into the distance, because of course you wouldn't get very close to an animal without missing it, but looking in the distance for seeing any particular shape or any particular movement that might be an animal. And of course you would walk for many hours, but what that did is it drilled in for me the ability to concentrate, the ability to fix your attention on something. So I'm also going to give you an example. This is for the blokes out there that like watching sports. I'm going to offer something that I think is actually very, very important in developing concentration. Sports, and in particular, sports like football, soccer, Australian rules football, perhaps GAA, and basically the sports where there is a non-stop play aspect. So in soccer, generally it's non-stop. The football goes from one end of the field, from one player to the other. And the attention that you have to follow that football for, let's say, 45 minutes of time is actually quite therapeutic. So you often hear of this practice of mindfulness today and all this sort of thing, and no wonder it's become so popular, because the rest of life is so distracting. There are so many distractions out there that sitting down to watch football, or even better, play one of those sports where you as a player have your attention on the ball, is very therapeutic and actually aids in drilling in the ability to concentrate or hold your, as we said, that definition, the action or power of focusing all one's attention. So definitely there is this ability to concentrate on something for prolonged periods of time that has a doingness, a thing that you must do, that helps you to, with experience, grow to control that in that way. Okay, so there are a few other things. Let's have a look over and see if they've got any stories to share from Michelle. If you can let me know there if anyone has put any comments in. I'd like to hear from you guys. Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, anything like that. And also you guys there on Zoom. Give me a thumbs up or a wave if you got everything that I said so far. It'd be great to hear back from you. But otherwise, I'm going to push on. The whole point of me giving you these snippets of information is that basically the whole kit of study tools from L. Ron Hubbard and his study technology are contained in a number of different books and a number of different courses or a number of different paths. So depending on the learning level that you're at, depending on what it is that you're trying to learn, there might be different things that you would benefit greatly from learning. For example, we have a few books here. This is a book called Learning How to Learn. Now this book here is quite often targeted at younger children, perhaps in around primary school, and it uses simple language to communicate the concepts of study technology. We also have then for adolescents and those in high school something called Study Skills for Life, and this book here with a little bit more detail will go over those study tools, but again covering them so that you can actually get to a point of more competently learning how to study. Then there's the Basic Study Manual. This is a book that I actually did as one of the first study courses. This contains, it's a bit thicker, and this contains all of the different study tools that you would use in greater detail, and certainly there are other courses and books available. Basically, the end result of knowing the study technology of L. Ron Hubbard is having certainty and confidence that you can study anything that you set your mind to. Okay, so I'm going to check back over with Michelle. Michelle will right now put in a link for you. So if you'd like to get any of the books, you'll see that link appear in the chat windows there or in the comment section. If you would like to contact us to find out more about the different paths or any of the courses or things that we have available, you can Michelle will also put a link in there so you can click on that. It's completely free and no obligation to speak with one of our staff to get your questions answered. Or if you have any questions for me right now would be the time to throw a question in before we end off. And also, even after for those on Zoom, even after we have closed off, the Mind the Crack logo will remain on screen and the chat will be open for another minute or so after that. So, if we don't have any comments or any other information coming back from you, I hope you enjoyed this. We've still got a few more webinars over the next, today is Tuesday, we've got Wednesday and Thursday. A few more webinars to do on the subject of study and learning, and then we're moving on to the subject of motivation. So we'll have a few guests, we'll have a few different things, looking at all the different aspects of motivation and life improvement tools and life hacks that you can use to improve your motivation. So, Sinead for today. I hope you enjoyed that, and I look forward to seeing you again. Thank you very much. Bye.